Alright guys, so today I'm going to be talking about a political hot button known as GMO. What is GMO? Well, if you don't know what GMO is, then you're in good company. Let's start with this. Okay, so down to business. What is a GMO? GMO is an acronym for genetically modified organism. That could be anything from a fruit or a plant or a bacteria. It's when you take the genes or a certain gene from, let's say, the donor organism, let it be an orange, and you decide to put it into the, say, organism number 2, into this banana. Let's say you want this banana to be orange, and so you take the genes and make this orange, well, the color orange, and you put it into here, and it might work, and it might turn the banana into an orange color. GMO has to do with biotechnology, genetic engineering, and, well, biotech seed. Basically, it's when you genetically modify an organism. You change the genes, pretty much. Cases like these aren't too rare. For example, growth hormones are put into fruits, and they're put into our animals. Let's say a crop of alfalfa is genetically modified so that it contains growth hormones, so that the animals who do eat it, well, grow. And that might not be too bad. Of course, GMOs do have their side effects, but GMO companies deny any side effects, any disease that might be linked to it. But there is a lot of speculation behind it. A lot of people believe that GMO causes cancer, it causes allergies, it causes a variety of diseases. And what's sad is that this generation, those kids born in 1994, 1995, 1996 and onwards, we were the first to be raised on this type of diet, this GMO diet. Let's start with the history of GMOs. It all began in 1973 when a grad student from Stanford University Medical School has the idea to make DNA, man-made DNA, which would be known as rDNA. Not RNA, but rDNA. Now in the 80s, it all advanced further when a court case between a genetic engineer at General Mills Electric and the U.S. Patent Office is settled by a 5-4 Supreme Court ruling. This is incredible because it allowed the first patent ever on a living organism. This organism, well, it's a bacteria, and it was used to chomp up oil spills. In 1994, the U.S. FDA, also known as the Food and Drug Administration, approved the Flavor Savo tomato for sale on grocery store shelves. The new tomato has a longer shelf life than conventional tomatoes. This is rather convenient, allowing for prices spent on food to be reduced. Food isn't going to be wasted. So that's also the benefit. Another thing that's taken into consideration with these genetically modified crops are that they might, they have potential to have higher yields. There isn't any proof yet that GM crops have higher yields. There isn't statistic behind that. So in 2003, we see a GMO-resistant pest arise, simply in less than a decade, already adapting to the new Bt toxins, which are sprayed on GM crops. This calls for a higher demand of pesticides, which are sprayed on crops to keep pests from eating it, but at the same time isn't too harmful, according to the GMO corporations. According to one study by Canadian Elizabeth and Samuel LeBlanc, there has been an alarming amount of Bt toxins found in baby fetuses. Now, this study is argued by David Tribe. He also argued it's the media's fault that people think that the protein you consume when you consume Bt toxins, well, the media portrays it as something evil or something bad. But David Tribe said that Elizabeth and Samuel LeBlanc don't take into consideration other possible abnormality the subjects might have had prior to the testing. And he also states that it isn't specified whether they receive these toxins from conventionally grown crops or from genetically modified crops. Either way, I mean, come on, these baby fetuses are being exposed to BT toxins. No. Should consumers know what they are consuming, what they are putting into their body, what they're exposed to every day? Should they know? I mean, if someone goes to the store and buy a box of cigarettes, there's going to be a warning label on it. It's potentially dangerous. No, as a matter of fact, it is dangerous. So why shouldn't we know whether our food is good or bad? Why shouldn't we know the way our food is grown, how our food came to be? I also want to discuss the lawlessness surrounding labeling. In 1997, the European Union rules in favor of mandatory labeling of all GM products, including animal feed. If your food is conventionally grown, you should know that the animal which you might be consuming might have been exposed to GM products. They might have eaten a genetically modified crop. I'm personally in favor with this ruling, since we should have the right to know. It doesn't mean just because we know that our food is genetically modified, we're gonna stop eating it. Because this is America, man. We're gonna eat anything. To be honest, that's not gonna stop us from eating. And these companies are afraid that if we're aware of what we're eating, if we have the knowledge of it, that, you know, they're screwed. Now, I just want to talk about GMO and our ecosystem. We have 3 main crops that are genetically modified. 3 of those are canola, which 90% are genetically modified here in the US, corn, which 88% is modified, and soy, 94% modified. GMO companies deny it, and there's 2 aspects to this: herbicide and insecticides. Insecticides are pretty much sprayed all over GM crops to kill insects. They can be sprayed over regular crops without poisoning the crops, but the genetically modified crops can withstand it. The main victim of insecticides are, well, bees. There's this thing called CCD, colony collapse disorder. Colony collapse disorder, CCD, is a serious problem threatening the health of honeybees and the economic stability of commercial beekeeping and pollination operations in the US. Despite the number of claims in the general and scientific media, a cause or causes of CCD have not been identified by researchers. Basically, they're saying that no, they're not caused by GMOs, because the people who work for the USDA also work for the big corporations. Some people believe that insecticides are the cause of CCD, mainly because insecticides are sprayed all over GM crops, and on a windy day that insecticide might travel and it might fall on nearby flowers or nearby plants which bees might want to pollinate or take the pollen from. This either poison them, kill them, and burst their stomachs open, or it'll disorient them to the point where they don't know where they're going, where their home is, and they can't make their way back. So sometimes they just disappear. Bees are behind a lot of things, behind fruits. They're the reason why fruits grow fruitfully. Well, this is mostly with almonds. Without bees, almonds might not grow. Imagine a healthy breakfast without bees. That's nearly impossible. Bees, they make the creamer to your milk. I mean, that's nearly impossible. Bees, they make the creamer in your coffee. They pollinate the alfalfa, which is fed to cows, which in turn, the cows give us dairy products. What they're fed, if that's genetically modified, that might go into their system, which is gonna go into our system eventually. The second thing I wanted to talk about is the toxins which are sprayed over these crops. We talked earlier about BT toxins, but also there's a thing called 2,4-D, which is also known as 2,4-dichlorophenoxyacidic acid. See, if you can't even pronounce it, then that's probably a sign that it's not good. Well, it was one of the main components of Agent Orange. And Agent Orange was sprayed all over Vietnamese crops to help them grow oranges. That Agent Orange. Yeah. That's not good. Now, herbicides are sprayed over GM crops. This we know, in order to kill the weeds. The thing is, these weeds are bound to adapt to the herbicides. Thus, we need stronger herbicides and stronger seed plants to withstand this herbicide in order to not get infected. And this is going to lead to inflation. We know that one of the big corporations behind providing genetically modified plants such as corn or soy, canola or cotton seeds is Monsanto. But the problem is Monsanto is also behind the weed killers, these herbicides, the pesticides. So why doesn't the USDA or the FDA do something about it? I mean, they're in charge of what we eat. They're the good guys, right? Point is, if the companies aren't hiding something, then they have nothing to be afraid of. And if they're spending millions and millions to keep people from knowing, then that's questionable. And even then, if they are hiding something from us, then something should be done, obviously. But I'm not saying GMOs should be X'd out completely. I'm more like GMOs could either be used for good or they could be used for bad.